Please share this. The one thing we ask, guys, we're trying to grow as fast as possible. The one thing we ask is just share it with one friend that may find value in this, that may like business, that may want to hear some of the things that we have to say in this podcast. With that being said, we're going to start in just a bit.
Are we for sure muted? Because there were a couple of episodes that I was listening over last night and we weren't muted.
Yeah,
And you can hear it over. There you go. There.
Oh, Frank.
damn it. I'm such a failure.
I have a mistake.
We're on.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the mistakes we wish we didn't make in business. Let's go back to our early days and all the mistakes we made. People that fail the most are the people that succeed the most. So I want to start with Molly. Go around. Molly, what was a tremendous mistake that you wish you didn't make in business that you would teach yourself not to do?
For me, it would be back up all of everything that I have and own when in regards to creating and developing websites, because that sucks when you think everything is deleted, which it actually has happened. One time I was able to save it. The other time I was not. So that was one of my biggest mistakes. It actually got me very emotional. But, people forgave me, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
They forgave you? How long did it take for you to redo everything?
Continuously doing it.
Still happening.
Has anybody in college
8
ever...
years.
Yes.
Has anybody in college ever erased an essay?
Yes.
Sandra.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's the worst. I've done
Yes,
it.
I've done it. I still remember the moment. I was sitting in my living room, and my dad, of course, walks by, and I'm crying. And he's like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "My paper." He's like, "Stop crying." I was like, "Oh my God, he doesn't understand." It's the worst feeling ever.
Oh my gosh. Angle
Yeah.
that.
Did you just F4?
Huh?
F4 it.
Oh, okay. Let me go back in time.
Yeah, that's Sabs' go-to.
I just
Why
always
did you just push the button? It's just like...
Mute.
Wait, I take it that you have as well, Frank?
Yes.
Really?
It
how do you remember?
It was like a 12-page essay.
Oh, okay.
About
I
what?
erased the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was the day before, so I had to do a whole 12-page essay.
Yeah.
I would just tell
one day.
myself, this was probably not that good, so the universe told me to delete it. And I
There you
feel
go, Drake.
like the new essay's gonna be way better. That's what I had to
story.
keep telling myself, and I'm like, I have no
story.
idea what I'm writing.
That's the way to put it, but yeah.
I feel like I'll tell myself that now with like smaller posts or like Instagram when I've done it for certain things. I'm
Right.
just like, okay, this one's gonna be better. But yeah, it just really sucks.
Yeah, my stomach feels already that, like the moment of sink, where it sinks down into the belly, and you're
Yeah.
like, all right, my life is over. But it's not, we're still alive. But yes,
Yeah, it's
First world
crazy.
problems.
Right.
Yeah.
that is a mistake
That is,
for me.
however,
For me.
a solid piece of advice for people. Back up everything.
Back it up.
And systems.
Back
up
everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be
I from the moment you told us this topic, I was like, I've never had a like tremendous
Oh.
bad. So it's 'cause you
error. No, I'm not
I need
perfect.
a baseball cap. I need to put a baseball cap on right now.
I'm go around. Maybe it'll jog
You-
some memories, but
Yeah.
I really.
Drea, really? You've never made a mistake.
I've made a mistake, but nothing that
business.
I'm like, shit, this is gonna ruin things. I've never.
Okay, what's
She's a DC.
a grammatical error? Like,
Well, yeah, but that didn't ruin my day. I'm like, oh well.
Okay, well-
Everyone makes it. There's
Okay.
human error.
okay, let's start
I'm
with
trying
one
to think
small mistake.
and see.
Jesus, you would be a good engineer.
One small mistake, maybe pulling the wrong numbers.
Oh my gosh, this is capping.
No, I
This
really
gapping.
can't think something that I have said and looked back on and remember it as like a tremendous error.
I think it'll come to you.
It'll come to me. So you
Okay.
guys all
Okay.
go
Okay.
around.
Okay, okay.
Cactus.
We'll
Even
come back,
like, I was
we'll
gonna
come
say
back.
in pink cactus,
Yeah.
like anything.
Okay, we'll come
Just
back.
forgot
Go
your
background.
taxes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Background.
Sandra, most horrific mistake, no capping allowed. I'm the cap police.
Okay, I have two.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I have more, but
All right.
the first one that I remember, Sabs, if you remember this.
I do.
You do. Do you know where I'm going with it?
Oh,
Like
well,
can't really
early
hear
days.
Does this involve giving somebody information that they should not have been given?
Yeah, so this was really
What?
on our early days. And you can help me create context because I remember why this was a
Oh my
disgruntled
gosh.
person coming in. But yeah, we had. So we had an employee, well, ex-employee. They were no longer working there for whatever reasons that I
There we
can't
go.
remember. Fraud.
Yep.
Okay.
fraud.
Yeah. And
You hired
Sabs had
somebody
left the
fraudulent.
office that day, so I was, left to my own devices, And I mean, we didn't have like a big office or anything, so
They
I don't
were
know.
very busy in the
Yeah.
lobby.
Yeah. And so the person comes in and they're like, "Hey, and of course I like really don't know what's going on, but
And very much sweet talking her.
and he was like, "I need this piece of information." And so I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." So I go and I make a copy of it, give it to him or whatever. And I don't know if you want to fill in the gaps here, but all I remember is that once you found out what I had given them, because it also had other information that was not pertaining to
Jesus.
him that shouldn't
Jesus.
have been on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh
10
my
years
God.
ago.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, and we were very early in business, and she was dutifully trying to be of assistance to another human being and not really thinking of the context in which
Yeah.
she was doing it. She was just like, "Oh, sure, I'll help you." But it was a guy that I had to fire for fraud,
Mm-hmm.
who was a bad hire in the first place, and he wanted the entire our roll call with all of our current employees and their
Yeah.
contact
Sandra.
information.
I know.
Sandra.
I wasn't even sure if I was able to
God,
say what
this is
document.
so-
It was the
Yeah.
roll
Thank you for not
call.
capping, by the way. So
Yeah.
at least we appreciate that.
Yeah.
But
And I have another one.
horrible.
But
In my
continue.
mind,
So
I'm
that was
firing.
an experience. We got through it together.
We did, but Sabs was so mad.
I was pretty.
Did
upset.
you? How would that conversation go? Let's just no capping.
How did it
No
go?
capping.
Well, I with
10
between you
years
and I,
ago?
it was I was very direct about how that can't happen again.
Yes.
There's a policy, like, we have to protect personal information. But I also knew very quickly that it was a total, it came from a good place and it was an accident. You just didn't know.
Yeah.
You don't know, like, a lot of times you just don't know what you don't know. And especially early in business, those are things that happen, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, after that, anybody else that came in and asked for information
The
was like,
FBI?
yeah, the
Okay.
FBI, no.
The FBI came.
No.
I was like, wait a second. Why? I heard the
So
FBI.
we have a policy, the only group the only agency we would give any personal information about any of our employees to is a government agency, but they
Oh.
have to prove that they are
Yeah.
government. Anyone else can go, anyway,
Yeah.
we're not giving personal information.
Anytime anybody came in through those doors and asked for something, I immediately called Sabs like, hey, what do they want? Well, I don't know. Let me go ask. So
You'll see
I
that,
had
like,
to,
you'll see
yeah,
it.
I had to learn the hard way. But yeah, the other one, if I can share, this one is super silly and funny. So our yacht party. So we host. No.
I mean, she asked
That wasn't a
me.
problem. That was not a problem.
I know it was not a problem, but I still felt
Responsible. Me too.
responsible,
Me
and
too.
like this was a terrible mistake that
Oh,
I
God,
made
what
in
is it?
business.
It's great. It's a great idea.
So-
Serendipity.
We have an annual yacht party that we host
For the holidays.
for the holidays.
Can I work
And-
for this company? Holy fuck.
And I think this time around, because now Kat has taken over with the new yacht and everything, but at the time I was in charge of putting together and talking, communicating with the person that owns
Event
the yacht.
coordinator,
Yeah, the
yes.
event coordinator. Thank you. I'm like, what is the word? And so I'm going through the details of it, and it said something in the menu for the drinks. It said, well bar.
full well bar.
Yeah, full well bar, right? And so I have no idea what full well bar means. So I go to my colleague over here and I'm like, hey, Molly, like, do you know what this means? And so she said,
I explained it as well bar, meaning well drinks. Yeah, so the bar will include only well drinks. So nothing like top notch or anything like that, just shelf or whatever
yeah.
drinks.
So I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I don't know why. I just didn't think that meant that was included as like open bar. right?
They
And
should've
so,
just-
So I
They
think
should
it was
have
even
said
to the
open bar.
point of getting to the yacht. We're all on the yacht. Everyone's in line to get drinks. Everyone's
I
expecting
tell
to pay.
people to bring cash.
Yeah.
Cash bar only.
yeah, and of course people are like, well, I don't want to pay for drinks, so I'm gonna drink before I get on the yacht, right? So everybody's already like plastered.
And I remember I was in line.
Sandra.
I'm just kidding.
I was in line with Chris, and I was like, oh, I think it'll probably be somewhere in the range of $20, whatever. He
Yeah.
takes out 20, and they're like, no. I was like, oh, maybe it's like the first round is for free.
Yeah. Turn around.
It's the 10th round. It's the 11th round. I know.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was terrible. And then Sabs is like, so we're paying for the drinks? And I was like, oh
But
God.
the context for that, I was like 5 years ago. 4
Yeah,
years ago?
something like that.
So now it's
No, it's like
stuck.
7.
No.
Yeah, we had to work our way up, you know? Like
I don't
with
think I
the
was
little
at that
yacht.
one.
No?
The biggest issue with that is obviously people go crazy. They have to pay for
was
it and
my
it slows
first
down
one,
their
so
drinking.
probably
But
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Our guys have done
6.
pretty well with it now that they've
Yeah.
settled into, I don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, so it was a mistake, but now we've never gone back. Now we always
Now
pay
it's
for
always
drinks.
open bar.
It's
Yeah.
one thing, you don't mess up.
We just have to teach people to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Meaning our people not to drink too much.
True.
But have fun.
Those are my 2 mistakes that I'm willing to share.
Got it. I usually have like around 2 drinks. Usually whiskey,
Yeah.
usually. Or,
It's a good choice.
what is it called? It's not an old fashioned, it's a,
Manhattan.
Manhattan,
no,
both of them are risky drinks.
no. White Russian.
That's not even close to whiskey.
That's
vodka.
Okay, bartenders. Okay, bartenders. I don't
Because I get that
know.
whenever we go to the winery,
obviously
and
are.
you always give me crap
They're
about
great
it for
breakfast-
some
breakfast
reason.
drinks.
Hello.
Good.
I don't know why.
They are great breakfast drinks.
I judge a drink by its
They really
color,
are.
and they look nice and creamy.
You guys know
They're good.
too much. A little too much.
No. At the river, that's like the staple at some places that they do blended mudslides, which is a white Russian.
What about
And
in the
they're so
dirt?
good.
What's the,
In the dirt is Bloody
Coors.
Marys in the morning and beer during the day.
got it. Favorite beer?
Coors Light.
Coors Light? Mm-hmm. I'm a Guinness person.
Oh, I love Guinness too.
Guinness is good.
Rocky Mountain Fresh though.
Sour beer.
Rocky Mountain.
We
Yeah.
saw the coolest Coors,
That was.
what was it?
Yeah.
Billboard.
Okay.
With like literal waterfall coming off of it. I was like, I don't even like beer, but that makes me want a Coors. Is that in Washington? That worked. No, in Dallas.
Oh wow.
That's cool.
And then I really like their Snapchat filter right now. It's cool.
What is it?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Like Coors
Oh my
glasses.
God. It's my new profile picture.
Yeah, you should put that on there.
Okay. All right. I think I have to preface this. Cat, no capping. 0 capping allowed. 0.
Unfortunately, I feel like I'm kind of in the same camp as Dre. Like, there's nothing like
I knew this was going to happen.
obvious.
Very similar.
I mean,
Where-
I've thought of something, but it
I knew this was gonna
not.
happen. Yeah.
But go ahead.
Like I've made like dumb little mistakes, and the other things that I might consider mistakes like ultimately led me down the path of where I'm at now. So I kind of feel like everything happens for a reason.
I had a feeling this was.
I can share at one point in our business, like I started off in the sales team, and we had been working on this pilot campaign for, I don't know, about a year. And we were in wireless locations, but then the client ended up getting bought out by another brand. And just like with other personal stuff that was going on, I decided to quit and like move back home for a while. But ultimately that's what like ended up getting me back into recruiting. So I can't even say that like that was a mistake in itself. I think that it's easy for anyone, like not only in our business, but in life in general, to like not handle challenges the right way and think that like escaping or like going back to what is familiar or comfortable is the right move, and it's not. Just understand that you're growing out of it.
What's a bigger mistake you've made in life?
You're really digging, aren't you?
Sabs.
Entertain me.
I need a mistake, Kat. You're not perfect.
You're not
I'm not
perfect.
claiming
Okay.
to be perfect.
Drea
I've made a lot
and
of
Kat not
mistakes,
allowed
but
on this podcast.
What?
I just don't have any like
Just kidding. I can't get lost on my.
life altering like don't do this mistakes.
What about like in?
That means you have not really lived
Sandra's
much.
like, what about that day, that one time?
No, I was.
Maybe part of it too is that I don't remember. I have like a terrible
I
memory.
think so too.
Tell me, Sandra, what have I
I was just
done? Or you,
trying
what
to
have I done?
spur up some ideas because you've been like in the food industry as well. Anything happened there?
No, I was a
No?
perfect
Okay.
employee there. The other thing that I could say too, well, I've got like two like small points. One is kind of like Sandra's, like knowing who to share what information with. So there's been like obviously like my personal relationship that is
Gotcha.
not something that needs to be shared in the business, and I had to kind of learn the hard way early on.
So your biggest mistake
Or,
is
like,
actually
other
not being
information.
too trusting.
I am like, and that goes with the next point that I was going to make too. I'm like extremely naive, and that like everyone has like such a genuine heart and interest that I do
What
that
state do you
I
hail from?
Huh?
What state do you hail from?
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas.
What does that have to do with anything?
Very sweet, loving people.
Oh,
Very sweet.
guess you can trust
Canadians,
everyone in
Texans.
I
Texas.
feel like they
Southern
do.
comfort
Yeah.
Um,
And hospitality.
and hospitality.
I also like to a fault. I think believe too much in people, or like think that they want to win as much as
You do.
I do, or as much as I want them to win. So that's something that I'm
Okay,
like kind
another
of
good
currently
thing about
learning as a coach
Okay.
over the last like year, especially, is that I can't, like I need to kind of lower my expectations
Mm-hmm.
of people and like not listen to their words, actually listen to their actions.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So akin to my biggest fault is I work too hard, or too.
Okay, put that ball cap on.
That's a DC.
We're coming back to you.
Is that
Sorry.
really your
Coming back
mistake,
to you.
Frank?
No.
No.
I'm just-
Oh, you're making it fun.
I was like, you're not allowed.
Okay, somebody say my mistake. Maybe I'm too direct. That's my mistake.
No, we're gonna go back to
Too much of
we'll
an
go back to
asshole.
Drea and Kat. We're gonna go back to both of you. So
Okay.
okay.
Sandra, just say
So-
it.
No,
Whatever I've done.
I'm trying to
She's
think. I wish
All
we
right.
had that little thing where we could record or like play back our memories. Have you guys seen what's the
What
show?
about Sabs?
Okay, sorry. Go continue.
Sabs.
Carry on.
Sabs.
Biggest mistake.
Check
Made
your
in
mic,
business,
too.
no capping allowed. You have to be completely honest. You have to completely say what's on your mind.
Well, the way I frame things, I either win or I learn. So I'm gonna give you an answer. I'm just telling you. I don't record information in that way, but I have made lots and lots of mistakes in business in general. Can you hear me? We good?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really low.
Am I really low?
But it might just be our headphones.
Am I really?
There you go.
Okay.
There you are.
You're good.
I think the biggest ones, if somebody asks like the biggest lessons I've learned in business is hiring the right people. And I think most of my mistakes that I look at, I'm like, yep, I could have avoided a lot of pain there, is not promoting or hiring the wrong people. And so I think we've gotten much better at that over the years. I've gotten much better at that from just like an internal filter. But a lot of the early pain in business, I have a whole entire season of business I refer to as the dark winter, when I was off my own payroll for 6 months.
Okay.
And we got down to almost a negative balance in our business bank account, which generally is not good. It's not good.
You have to go through one of those. One of those
Frank
periods.
is. I am watching you, and he's not satisfied.
And that was, as the CEO and owner of the company, that's on me. And there was a lot of pain related to that I had to reflect on, like, what did I do?
So what
to
was the
create
mistake
this?
you made that was related to that?
Hiring and promoting the wrong people.
Hmm.
I was running a hospital, not an army. I didn't have internal standards for my guys. I expected it. I put everything on me and expected my guys would rise to the occasion. And so I shifted my entire structure, how I run business after that. It was a really painful lesson that turned to a lot of really positive fruit. I think we've, since then, we've launched. 18 months later, made the adjustments, and we never looked back. We grew by
Okay.
like 5,000% in
So
4 years.
cool. I'm gonna rank mistakes that everyone shared. I'm gonna rank. Okay.
Where's yours?
So let's go
Well, I
based
can
on the
still
best
guess.
mistakes that have been shared. Okay. So for sure, Sandra's number one.
Oh
For sure.
gosh.
You
What is
shared two
this
mistakes.
judgment on? What is this judgment on?
Like-
What's the criteria?
The criteria.
The
of-
juiciness of
yeah.
the
What is the
mistake.
juiciness of the mistake?
fraud.
And So, Molly number two.
Of course.
Molly number two. And then, jeez, this is. I think you guys are all tied. 3.
So we're all.
You didn't appreciate my.
Because they're all
Top
D's.
3.
We are
It was
the
a
top
dramatic-
copied
it was a
me.
dramatic- Okay.
What's your mistake, Frank?
So the
Yes,
biggest mistake
Frank.
I made in business was dating somebody I was in business with.
Classic.
No, horrible mistake. That's not a good. That's not a good thing to do.
Low
Why?
batting average anyway.
Yeah, this was like in vector marketing when I was working there. I dated a manager.
I thought you were
we-
gonna
And
say
you
a man.
were where? Where were you on the totem
I
pole?
was dating up actually.
Well, dating up is better for you.
Yeah, but she knew I was on the way. To
Tricky
get
for
there.
her.
On the way.
But not
On the
for
way
you.
where?
On the way
to-
up.
On the way up.
On the way
On the way
up.
up.
So
Yeah.
why does that? So we don't have a policy in our business around dating.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and, I mean, if I was more mature back then, I think it
That was
would've
so
been-
funny.
Like, because you spend enough time with like-minded people, and I'm gonna get back, I wanna hear what you have to say here, but you spend enough time with like-minded people, it makes sense that people would date, connect, hook up, have fun. I don't really care about that as much as long as it doesn't hurt the culture of the business, it doesn't become personal. So
Right.
it's a low batting average because a lot of times when you date somebody in the business, there is a chance it's gonna bring pain to the business. So finish your story. I'd love to hear why that was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd like
I'll
to
be
know
really
more.
quick because I tend to go on too long. And Kat can attest to this. So, just kidding. All right. So I would say I dated this girl. I wasn't ready for a relationship. I wasn't ready. I wasn't in like the headspace to have a relationship.
Did you know that then?
Great question, Trey.
Kind of. It's like I'm not ready.
How
for
old
a
were you,
relationship.
if you don't mind me asking?
24.
Great question.
Were
24?
you playing law of averages?
24.
Were you you're running your LOAs on this one,
No.
but you were dating up. Kudos to that. So you knew.
Yeah.
You knew you weren't ready for a relationship.
Right.
On point with Dre. 24, right? What could you possibly know?
Right.
So what?
I blame this a little bit on my only child, but only child syndrome.
Right.
A little bit,
Okay.
but so I decided I didn't want to be with her on her birthday.
Wow.
Just wait a day, Jesus.
I know.
24 hours, bro.
So, anyways, so
So that is a big mistake.
I didn't realize it didn't click in my head. Don't do it on this day. It didn't click. Oh no, sorry. It was.
Did you
know it
forget
was-
that it was her birthday?
No, I didn't forget. It was on a
Business mistakes or personal mistakes? This could really
Well, this was both combined, unfortunately.
So no, it was on the day. It was on her birthday, and I was at her family's house. So I met her entire family.
Oh my
And I was like,
gosh.
this is just too much for me. I wasn't thinking straight. And I was like, this is just way too much for me. I can't progress that fast. And then I was like, at the end of the whole day, I was like, I don't think we should do this. And she's like, what do you
Wow.
mean? Like,
Did you give her like legitimate reasons, or were you just like, it's just too much? Because now she starts to second guess her family,
24.
herself.
How long were you guys dating for?
I'm an only child.
I was like,
Look at us
8
digging in.
months.
8 months?
Yeah.
Dang.
That was too
I
fast
really
for you?
didn't mean anything. I really didn't mean. No, we knew each other for like 2.5 years.
Okay.
And we were dating for like 8 months. But anyways. And then, Jesus.
This went personal
it gets a little
real
worse.
quick.
It gets a little worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, we were just
Oh,
getting
no.
warmed up.
We're
So
just
she was a
scratching.
manager, right?
Okay.
You got fired.
And she had a subordinate who was flirting heavily with me.
And you liked her?
Oh,
and
Frank.
I asked her out.
Drama.
And then she
Oh,
got
Frank.
totally pissed off, and she tried to like get me fired and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
Like, anyways.
Is that why you were
That was a big
were you
mistake.
guys exclusive or something?
We
Was
were
that
no. At that point, we weren't exclusive.
Okay.
She just didn't want me dating a subordinate of hers.
Sure.
And
have
it was
no
it was
fear.
inconsiderate because we're exes. It's inconsiderate of me to want to go out with a subordinate.
No.
Especially
That's
since
just
you weren't in the
personal.
right headspace.
Only child syndrome. Only child syndrome. I wasn't considerate, and I've learned from it.
Got it.
So we do have some takeaways from this
Yes.
conversation.
Let's
so
hear
far.
about him.
Sure.
Don't give personal information away from employees. Check. That's
Check.
a good one.
Yes. Never do that.
Always back up your shit.
Back it up.
3, make sure you hire the right people.
Yes.
4, think really long and hard before you decide to date somebody on your team.
Long and hard.
Yes. Long and hard. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, what are things that people can learn from that are watching this podcast? Things that we would tell someone that's maybe 21, 22, getting out of college, and that wants to start a business. what are things we can tell that person that would help them tremendously in their journey?
Easy. Don't work for a paycheck, work for an education.
Oh, that's a
Go
huge.
get around people who can teach you something. If you start chasing money early in life, you'll always be chasing money. If you chase an education, that education will get you all the money you want.
Right. 100%.
And a lot of people hear that and they're like, well, that's what I went to school for. Like, let's be real. Who generally learns something that they can monetize outside of school? That's like 20% of the population. 80% of the population did not learn anything that they can genuinely monetize. Plus, at best, it's theory anyway.
Right.
Caveat is if you went to school to be an engineer, doctor, attorney, accountant, those have direct application. But most,
That's a whole nother subject.
right. But most of the time, you don't come in with a real education. So you got to start putting things to work, and you want to get around people who
You-
are where you want to be.
I studied engineering, and I didn't really learn a lot with regards to practicality in the workplace.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think in regards to like how to avoid mistakes,
Uh,
it's continually asking yourself questions around decisions. Is this getting closer to my goal, further away from my goal? What are my values? And just constantly evaluating like what's the risk and what's the reward? Is this going to be worth it?
Yeah.
yeah.
I started a company, so I'm going to speak to the person that just started something as opposed to someone that came into such an amazing company. The most important part is learning it yourself first before you decide to go spend thousands of dollars on someone that is going to do it. Because you can...
That's a good one.
I started thinking of my like mistakes in that.
Yeah, we're past that.
Yeah, I know.
Too late.
But I
you're
think
saying
it's not necessarily like become an accountant, but understand the jargon, understand
Yeah.
how to get, profit,
Exactly.
loss, all those things. And before someone starts overpaying or overcharging you, understand what that is valued.
Right.
So I think that's a point I would give.
That's a great
That's a
one.
really good one.
Yeah.
Know
That's a
enough about
really-
accounting to know whether your accountant's good. Know enough about
Yeah. I think
legal to know that your attorney is good.
Because so many people pay just because they're like, okay, well, I'm paying $15,000 and that should be good because that's a lot of money. That person should be good. That's not the case.
Right. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people lose money in doing that.
I think a lot of advice comes from the perspective of like hire everything out that you don't want to do, but there's
But
there's
understand.
caveats to that. There's like context that's required, and the context is learn how to do that first. Like learning how to do all of this, even though I'm not a videography person, is like I know exactly what to say to when we're hiring a videographer. I know exactly what to say. I know the jargon. I know exactly their pain points. I know exactly if they're BSing
What
or
to
not
expect.
BSing. Exactly.
Like hiring someone for social media. I'm doing it all because I want to know how to do it. So then when I'm paying someone to do it, I already give them a set thing of expectations of what I want to be done.
Exactly. 100%. And to your point, the salary thing, or I think of salary when it comes to paycheck. I think that's the biggest sticking point for a lot of people is they're too concerned with salary or how much they're making initially. If you bring value to the right person, first of all, pick the right person. Pick the right person. That's important. Okay. But if you bring enough value to the right person, you're going to make a ton of money. Doesn't matter what they're paying you initially. It doesn't matter, because there's this level of like I don't know you yet, so I'm going to pay you a certain amount up front. And I like this company because you guys pay initial like base pay. But I would, if I were to be honest, if I were to come into this company, I'd be like, okay, what are you paying in sales? And so it's like 60-40, right? 60-40 is the split. I would say, hey, how do I make 80% or 90%? You don't have to pay me base. That's what I would do. And just become really good at the job. And be like, hey, no risk on your end. Give me 80-90%.
And that's more entrepreneurial. That's if I was gonna go work for someone else, and I do when I consult for other companies. Okay, here's what's your annual revenue been for the last 3 years. Give me that number. I'll say I want 10% of anything over that number.
Right.
Don't pay me anything of that because that's the only thing that matters. Can you move the needle in their business?
Right.
And a lot of
Exactly.
people don't get that because they're not thinking business. They're thinking I show up, you pay me. Well, that person is never going to bring enough value to get paid anything that's going to change their life. If you want to change your life, bring value that literally moves the needle in the business. where you're actually drawing profitability to the business. And then you can go back and ask and go, hey, I generated $250,000 of revenue for this business last year. I want
You can ask
10% of that.
You can ask for whatever you want after that.
And any smart owner is going to go, done. But
Exactly.
if you're like, hey, I cost the business $50,000 last year, I want 10% of that, I'm like, perfect.
What do you ladies think about that? Yeah.
I'm in full support. Like, I completely agree with what you guys are saying.
Same.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Okay. So, what about your idea of like, I want to go into what starting salary should be, but also what is your idea of value maintainers versus value creators? There's a difference. So, in big companies, big corporations, value maintainers are the people that are let go the quickest. So the people that are like managing projects, making sure that the value is maintained and not really bringing more value.
They're
if
not
that makes
moving
sense.
the needle.
They're not moving the needle. So what are your thoughts on that?
On what's the question?
So what are your thoughts on value maintainers, being a value maintainer versus being a value creator? So again, value maintainer is someone that's maintaining the business that's already been brought in, and value creator is someone that's facilitating in some way more business being brought in.
So I think this is something like we were even kind of sharing on the call that we had yesterday, and kind of trying to coach someone through someone that they're training and developing that
Wednesday.
isn't quite hitting the standards of what we're expecting. And like, again, we kind of, I think all of us do have the heart of like, we want to see everybody win and we want to give people that chance. But then as a business, like, you have to look back and evaluate, can I hire somebody else to do this job and they're going to do it better, right? And that's why our motto, if you will, is be so good you can't be ignored. So to just come into a business and like do what's already provided for you, like, you may be able to get away with that depending on the role and the season that you're there. I'm going to, kind of assume that that's going to be more of a temporary position. Like, take front desk, for example. We'll generally have college students come through, someone that's looking for part-time, very, very basic tasks that are required there, not a lot of training or development. They stay for 3-4 months. Cool. Like, that's going to be a position that we continue to kind of replace and adjust with over time. Whereas if you're the face of the company, if you're, someone that's recruiting and bringing people in, if you're someone that's on the sales team and acquiring new customers or not, or someone moving into management, like, you have to have that edge above everybody else, I believe, to continue to add value. And especially as business continues to evolve with times, the adaptability to figure out new things, to bring in new sources, because nothing stays the same, right? And if you keep doing everything that you've always done, you can't really expect to get where you need to go.
Got it.
I mean, ideally, you want everyone to be a value creator. But I mean, that's very unrealistic, I think, in the workplace. And even so, a front desk that we see as a value maintainer can become a value creator. That front desk can turn into a recruiter, can turn into a promoting recruiter. It could turn into a hub. Like, there's so many things, but you can become that. But I think it's unrealistic to think that every single person can become a value creator, because I think of just like where their mindset is at. They're okay being maintainers, and you need maintainers, I think.
You need maintainers as employees.
Yes.
People that would be open and willing to help out. But when it comes down to, I think the call that you were talking about was yesterday, when it was the will of the people, whether or not people are with you, regardless of like, all right, you're going to stay here, create my company and help me out, versus the ones that are going to move, like Sab said, move the needle with everything. We need employees, we need those people to help sustain a business. And then we obviously have those people on board that are going to create these ideas or have the vision to, move forward with it. So I agree with what you guys are saying. And you can change, like, you can evolve into a
And you
creator.
can go backwards. You can be a creator, become a maintainer.
But then that's when it
Exactly.
comes down to
Continue to
plateaus. I'm like dealing with plateaus, not dealing with plateaus, but in a personal reason or my personal life, trying to like move from a plateau onto the other side of the mountain, it's going to take different habits of mine. So it's like you always say, whatever got you here will not get you to the next level. So how can you then switch your mindset into, okay, what can I do? And that's a lot of the whole creating momentum part. Like I think about these things and I hate creating momentum because I feel like I'm back at level 1. And that sucks. Learning a new skill takes so much time and effort in my brain. I'm just like, how can I continue doing this? And so day by day, you're kind of like reassessing yourself in that maintainer mindset, because we're there sometimes and that's okay. But then if you continue doing those daily actions, like how can I make myself 1% better every day? This is how you then create the momentum and then thus become your creator, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with all what you guys are saying.
I think the issue is when a maintainer is not willing to be a creator. Like that's the problem. Because what you're saying, like
100%.
you
And
do
the main-
need it. Yeah.
And you can't
then-
motivate them.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue. And then because then once you do become the creator, you have to maintain what you create. But that's how you move forward. I
Right.
think it goes like this.
And then
so
the maintainer like wants more pay or wants another title or it's like, what have you done?
Like, can I get more benefits?
You're only doing like the basic responsibilities of your job. Like,
yeah, I think there's cycles to it.
Yeah.
I think they both go hand in hand.
Can you hire from the very get-go somebody that would be willing to become a creator? Can you look for that?
You'll see it in their
I think so.
actions. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I think that you can ask them questions around that too. Like one of the favorite things that I would say and ask someone during the interview process is like, okay, well, knowing what you know of our business, knowing what you know of the job that you're looking to come into, what would be your game plan in the first, 3 months? How would you move the needle? There's 10 other people that I'm looking to hire for this position. Why you?
Right.
So depending on their answer and like getting to know who they are as a person and their student mentality and willingness to grow, I think that you can find that and hire someone kind of with that
To be fair,
in mind.
a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of companies screw with creators and they don't realize it.
Yeah.
Because using I wouldn't call them creators, but using the terms you led off with, the issue is guys who are value creators very often are also going to be a pain in your ass.
Yeah.
Because they're pushing, they want more, they're asking for more, they're challenging old ideas, they're challenging the way we've always done things. And so if you don't know how to deal with that person, you'll push them away and invite maintainers. People who keep the status quo for you. So there a lot of company, and this is why a lot of people don't want to work in corporate America, because corporate America as a whole, and I'm obviously making a massive generalization here, there are a lot of great companies within corporate America, but a lot of people feel like a number because the whole system is set so that you are replaceable. So a monkey can do the work that you are doing. Like it's hilarious to me in how many industries, and we're not just thinking blue collar now, where people ask for more money, more wages, higher wages, and the answer to that, we can discuss the socioeconomic impact of this, but the answer to that is, well, I can just get a computer to do it. Well, I'll tell you right now, if a computer can do what you do, you're screwed. Because a computer can work 24/7, it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get sick, it doesn't take time off, it doesn't take as much energy, so you don't ever want to be in a category where we can get computers to do the work that you're doing. And we're seeing this now in white-collar work, right? So I think value creators are wonderful if you know how to lead them and know how to create space for them to grow, and that's who you want. But a lot of times leaders are the reason why those guys don't come out. But my experience has been the guys that are value creators are naturally that way. You don't have to, you more just have to get out of their way because
Yeah.
they want, something in them wants to win. Something in them wants to be more.
Do you think they're born with that, or do you think that's
I
developed?
think a lot of people are born that, and I think it can be developed. The other, question to that is, can you develop that in people? You absolutely can, but a lot of guys are just naturally that way. So you don't really have to. When looking for them, they're usually fairly apparent. You just have to be a place where they can grow, and that can be expressed, because they're gonna want to have that come out. No person who is designed for growth is gonna be happy in an environment where they can't grow.
Yeah, that's true. So, one thing that people hate about corporate America is that one thing that's really dangerous about corporate America is that when you're first beginning your entrepreneurial journey, your company is usually filled with a bunch of creators because you have to get your company off the ground, right? But then as time progresses and you become more established, then more maintainers come and maintain the business, right? So what would you say, so the biggest thing is, like, with maintainers, a lot of people that have the maintainer personality do not want to change things up. They don't want to adapt. They would just want to maintain what's already there. So what happens often is when the society changes or economics change, whatever the case may be, the economy changes,
They don't know how to
where
change.
adjustment is required, it's not done. And so that's where a lot of companies like go down. Circuit City, like all these big companies, just fail because there's too many value maintainers and not enough value creators.
Yeah, and I think from a business standpoint, and Smalls hit it right on the head, you want maintainers. And so
You
hopefully,
do
as
want
people
maintainers.
listening to this, they're not going, maintainers aren't valuable. They are.
They are.
Especially depending on
You need 'em.
the division they're running or the department they're in, they can be very important. The point bringing this up to me is they're just a lot more vulnerable than the creator, because they're usually the first people that are going to be replaced if the business is going down or not doing well, because if they can't justify the expense of this person, like I teach all my students this a lot around building a business and being in sales. Like, that is the best position you could possibly be in. You're usually the last guy to get laid off because you're actually generating revenue for the business. That's where you want to be in. When the business owner or the executive team can look at what you're doing directly and you're impacting the bottom line directly, that's a safe place to be as long as you're positively impacting it.
Yeah.
The scary positions to be in is when it's not clear how you're driving or pushing the needle or how you're affecting the business.
Right. One thing I would want to stress is that every position, no matter what position that is, doesn't matter what industry, doesn't matter what position it is, what leadership position it is, everyone's working on commission. It's just when you're on a salary, you're being paid up front. You're not being paid on the back end. Everyone's working on commission. You don't do your job.
Unless you work for the government.
Unless you work for the government, yeah, you're not on commission. You're getting paid regardless of your job, of the job that you do. But you're getting paid on commission. If you don't do your job, if you're not maintaining in the right way that keeps clients or whatever the case may be, you're going to get eventually let go. A good example of this, during COVID, a bunch of surgeons got laid off. A bunch of surgeons in hospitals because they couldn't bring, like, it's such an expensive department to run, and if you can't substantiate paying a surgeon $500K or $600K a year, you're going to let that person go if they can't somehow. So like surgery departments became huge sales centers. Hey, don't worry, you can come in. We're very safe with regards to the precautions we're taking with COVID. They had to become like salespeople, the surgery centers, or they would get fired. So if you're not bringing enough patients in, I can't pay you $500,000 when we're suffering as a hospital, right? So I think that was a wake up call for a lot of people. That's just COVID in general.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting. So, any other thoughts regarding maintainers, value creators? One thing I think is really interesting is the idea of socialism in some circumstances where people can. I think you mentioned this before, but people come in, they say they want to own the means of production. They think employees should own the means of production. And so a lot of people think that they come in as a maintainer and they want to own part of the company. This is like a very common theme on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want to come in into a fully baked company, and I want a big portion of the profits that are made by the company, because how dare you make millions of dollars and I only make this much? What do we say to that?
I don't have any nice things to say. I'll keep my direct comment to myself.
Yeah, so like on the surface, it's a nice thing to, like, a co-op is a nice concept to think of. It's a,
Sorry to interrupt you, but this is a simple conversation for me. Go build your own fucking company.
yeah,
And then tell me that you think you deserve that.
yeah.
That's the answer. Go
That-
build your company. If that's the world you want to live in, where you want a portion of ownership, go build your company, and then you tell me how valuable another person is that comes in after you've built the company.
I'm telling you, the level of confusion that's out there right now is tremendous.
It's
It's
more helpful
tremendous.
to back up and understand how we got here, because that's how you learn how to communicate with people who have that worldview. And it's, we're living in a time, and we don't have time for this, that'd be a good, another podcast, but we're living in a highly affluent time, the most affluent time in history. That has allowed us particular luxuries that make us look at the world differently. And if you study history, which unfortunately people that should aren't, you'd understand how we got here. And there is struggle, generationally, I understand where some of these things are coming from, but these are first world problems and things that we get to complain about. Right, and it's fascinating to watch, but there's a lot that needs to be addressed when it comes to these ideas and the entitlement in our society right now. And the whole other 98% crap drives me up a frickin' wall when I hear that, because there's a lot of content that comes out that direction. What about the other 98%? Well, if you live in the United States, you are in the top 2% of the entire world. So your 98% is a relative term based on the country you live in. If you look at it in the world, if you live in the U.S. right now, you are in the top 2% of the entire world.
Right. That's true.
Which is fascinating to me.
Absolutely.
But we like to cut things up in ways that are convenient for us.
The average salary in Morocco, which is where my top sales rep lives,
$50.
the average
$50.
yearly salary, which means you can support yourself, $7,000.
Crap. Wow.
Yeah,
But the cost of living,
for their cost of living and everything, $7,000.
Way
She's saying
down.
the cost of living is
Is-
cheaper.
Oh, the cost of living is cheaper. Yeah, way cheaper. So, yeah,
$7,000 in a
Well,
year.
it's
like
That's
7,000.
wild.
China's become way more affluent, but at one point, the average person in China was making, I think, $600 a year. It's not that now, but
Jesus.
that's because they have a massive population. Like, if you start looking at, it's a fun number to Google, what the average person in the world makes, it's in the hundreds of dollars a year. Which is why I laugh when I hear the other 98%. I'm like, you entitled little prick. Well, you need to go travel some. Get out in the world and figure out how, and it's not because we don't have issues in the United States. I'm also not saying, hey, we don't have things we need to address or that there aren't very real issues. There are, but if you gain some perspective, it makes it much easier to make intelligent, non-emotional decisions. Without perspective, you get super entitled and it changes your entire emotional profile, and you think somehow you're a victim, which makes you powerless to change anything. And also makes you a negative person. I've yet to meet people who live in that world that are genuinely happy and full of love. Doesn't usually exist.
Yeah, because nothing's their fault.
Right, how could
It's
you
always
feel
outside.
empowered and be in a good place if nothing's your fault and you're just a victim of everything?
Right, exactly.
Tough.
I think it's part of the system or society that's taught now, right?
Mhm.
Like not the American dream, but the American rite of passage, if you will. Go to school, go to college, get a degree, get a job, get a house, all those things. And what you hear from school, from mom and dad, from everybody around is find a job that gives you profit sharing, find a job that gives you 401k, find a job that has paid time off and health benefits and things like that. And it's not that that is genuinely what that person needs or wants. It's what's being told to them as this is the best thing. And they've have no way to wrap their heads around how a business actually works and what happens when you hire an employee and having expenses and all of these things added on to it. If you just gave everybody what they wanted, you're not running a business for much longer if they're not pulling their weight too, and they're not
Right.
At least maintaining, if not creating.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about culture too. If you have too many people that are like that, then that's a real dangerous thing for your business. All right. Do we have any last words, ladies? No? Mistake that you made?
that's what it was.
Okay.
I have to learn first because, for example, I got an accountant, paid a lot of money for
Okay,
it.
got it.
didn't tell us any, here are your taxes, sign them, we're good. And I was like, you need to walk me through
See?
these numbers.
Taxes.
You need to
I was
teach
right.
me what these words mean. Like what, and that is also on me that I didn't learn it prior, but I just was
Right.
like, I don't have time for this. I don't have the capacity to sit down and go through all these numbers and be the one to enter them in and this and that. So that's why we said, out of convenience, pay someone. And then once you pay all this money and then they return your taxes, or your bookkeeper doesn't tell you anything, doesn't give you a call, doesn't return your calls. I was just like in disarray.
I'll teach you, Dre.
Yeah,
We'll
thanks,
help you.
Kat.
Let's do this. Okay, so one quote that would help someone listening to this podcast with regards to business. So who wants to go first?
A quote.
If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Oh, that's
That
a
one's
good
my
one.
favorite.
That's a good one.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Be the change you want to see. That's great too.
My favorite one. Don't be.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's flesh that out one just a little bit because
Flex it.
flesh it.
Oh, I thought you said flex it.
She's like, all right.
all right.
Be the change.
So when you go into a situation, this is what I've noticed. When you go into a situation, you want to flesh it out, or do you want me to tell my thoughts?
There's a really funny analogy that I like kind of reference back to. We heard this on one of our recruiter calls that I think Manny was running one time.
Okay.
And it's like the pooper scooper, right? It's really easy to be like, ooh, there's shit over there.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that shit stinks. That's gross. And you don't do anything about it,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you see the shit, pick it up. Like,
Exactly.
if you see a problem, fix it. If you want everybody in the world to be a certain way, well, like, first, like, look in the mirror and make sure that you're that way. Because you're not going to be able to influence or make change if it doesn't start from within and with you first.
Exactly. I want to say just really quick, and I know we have to go, but with regards to you going to a situation and you feel like no one else is doing what you think needs to be done, you should jump in and just do it, and then everyone will follow. Eventually, if you pick up enough momentum. So that's what hit me about that quote a lot.
Very nice.
Is like the fact with this podcast, like nobody really. We're like, okay, it's kind of a cute thing, right? Let's try
is
it
cute.
out. And then I had to be 100% motivated to do it before anyone was motivated. So I'm not going to be like, hey guys, can everybody get motivated? And because that would make me more like that would make me more want to do it more. But anyways, so Sabs.
It's what I already said. I would say all the wealthiest people in the world get paid on the value they bring, not their time. Focus on bringing value, not an exchange of time. And that's a business. That's a
Yeah.
business concept, and employees just don't usually get that.
I love that.
It's
So,
based on value.
so appreciate the dirt. Appreciate the dirt. If you can appreciate the dirt, you can enjoy it, then you'll go really far. Sandra?
Yeah. Mine was the quote that I was going to say was, "Don't be upset about the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do."
Oh, that's a good one.
I love that
Another way
quote.
of saying the same thing I
Holy
just
crap.
said.
It's on our
which is
call
clean.
tracker for our recruiters.
No,
Love
that's
it.
that one hit. That one
Love
hit.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Molly.
For me, shit. Sorry. Be so good you can't be ignored.
You can't use that one though.
Fine.
That's a really good one though.
One of my favorite ones, I think it's from Parks and Recreation. Don't half-ass anything, or
Yeah.
full ass
ass it.
every, yeah,
Yeah.
full ass it. Which,
She's your full ass.
it's just funny, because it's
Back
like
up.
whatever
I
you
love that one, too.
do, put your whole heart into it. So, that's
Word.
it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Please share this if you found value with it in it. Please share it. Like, comment, do whatever you can to help spread the word about this podcast. I think there's a lot of podcasts out there that are huge that don't provide nearly as much value as we provide. So, not to compare ourselves, but we are providing a ton of value.
Thank you.
Thank you.